And welcome back to another week at Beyond the Trailer Park. And I made it just in the nick of time this week because I was in West Virginia this morning. So yay for not getting stuck in traffic. Or at the border, for that matter. Yes, I'm talking to you, Paul. They like me. Yes, so yeah, I made it back. I'll tell you guys a little bit about the trip in a bit, but of course, as always, I'm joined by my awesome co-host, Beth. How's it going in Pennsylvania?
Oh, Pennsylvania's just ducky.
Well, you just need to send all of your pizza to me. That's all I have to say.
I am still trying to figure out a way to ship you some pizza.
It's the best damn pizza I ever had, ever.
And
so anyone who goes to Emporium, Pennsylvania needs to go to Smith's Pizza Palace and eat a lot of pizza because it is really worth it, let me tell you.
Yes, Dave actually has won Best Pizza in the United States twice. He's also placed worldwide. Yes, he's placed worldwide in the top 10. I think once was third. So yeah, his pizza is good. That's the only reason I work there now.
I had pizza at some restaurant in Savannah. I forget where it was exactly, and it was oh no, it wasn't in Savannah. Anyway, I had pizza somewhere, and it was fine. It was good, but it wasn't Dave's pizza, and that's all I have to say about that. So it was amazing. So this week, Beth and I are joined by Chris Shellska, who is out of Calgary, Alberta. So this is a Canuck episode of the show, and she opens my series of speakers from the non-conference. So welcome, Christine, or Chris, as you prefer.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're quite welcome. So, Chris, let's start by telling a little bit about yourself and what it is you do that's so cool.
Well, I'm a Ph.D. candidate at the University of Calgary, and I am in the Department of Communication, Film, and Media, and I look at the intelligent design movement from a rhetorical perspective. Mm-hmm. I'm also the president of Atheist Alliance International, and I am the first Canadian to be nominated to the board of directors for the American Humanist Association. Ooh. And I'm a regular co-host on the Legion of Reason podcast, which you must join us on sometime.
Absolutely, that sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
So rhetoric, that's always fun stuff, for sure. Is that what your thesis is on, or?
Yeah. I bring in some actor network theory and some stuff like that too. But basically, it's a rhetorical look at the strategies they're using and to counter evolution and science and this kind of thing. Yeah.
Of course, because science is all bad and evolution is fake and all of that fun stuff. And Satan evolution. And Satan planted the fossils. He ran around and planted all the fossils because that's what Satan does. That's right. That's right. Yeah. It was funny. We drove past something called Dinosaur Land in Virginia, and I thought it was going to be some creationist thing. We were there too late at night to even see what it was, but somebody who lives nearby said no, it's actually just like a kid's park thing. It's not creation, which I was actually a little bit disappointed because it said Dinosaur Land and it had a giant shark and an octopus next to Dinosaur Land. I'm like, that doesn't quite compute, but okay.
Sounds like kind of a Chuck E. Cheese place or something almost, right?
Yeah, exactly. So Chris, were you always an atheist, or did you spend some time as a theist, or how did that go for you?
I was basically, I was raised by my agnostic mom and my atheist dad. So yeah, I'm pretty much a lifer. I mean, when you're a kid, you like to kind of experiment and check out other religions, and I did a bit of that. Went to church with friends and stuff like that, and it, kind of convinced me, that just doesn't really seem right, and I was not convinced. Let's put it that way. So
Okay, so Well, that's good. You didn't have to go through some of the trials and tribulations that other folk have. I know, Beth. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry too. I mean, you know, that's I feel very fortunate that I didn't have to overcome that kind of indoctrination, right?
Absolutely. Well, Beth and I have a kind of a running joke because Beth spent 10 years trying to figure it out, and I was one of those ones that went, holy shit, it's all fake. Well, damn, I'm an atheist. All right, what's next?
Yeah. For some people, it seems to be a gradual process, and for other people, I like to say, you know, they get sort of a cognitive smack upside the head, and it's like, oh, wait a minute, you know, and that does the trick for them, right?
Although for me, what I like about it is I came to the conclusion through study of history, and most of your theists that want to, try and prove that you were wrong and whatnot, they always go for the science angle, and I am no scientist. I'm like, I don't care, but history, blah 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 blah, and it always seems to throw them for a loop. Because they like to throw the old intelligent design creation crap at me, and I'm like, well, I know enough now that I can usually work my way through a crappy argument that they give me, which is all of them. But it's not my typical reasoning, so I always enjoy that. It's like, no, forget the science crap. Talk to me about history.
Yeah, well, I mean, I bring that to bear on my dissertation too, is history, sociology, and philosophy of science, right? Because some of these arguments they're presenting are hundreds of years old, right? And they've been refuted hundreds of years ago. It's fascinating how they just keep cropping up and becoming more sophisticated too, right?
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah, absolutely. It's like they go through they have this big recycling bin of silly arguments, and so one's been in the recycling bin for a few decades. They'll like, oh, I don't remember that one. Let's try this one back out again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like Paley's watchmaker argument. What's that from the 1700s, I believe, right? Yeah.
Yeah, because who makes watches like that anymore? In fact, I've read recently that the wristwatch is starting to die out because everyone has time on their phone or their tablet. They're not nearly as popular as they used to be.
Yeah. But you hear this argument, like Ray Comfort, for example. Oh, if you put a bunch of pieces together in a junkyard, and a car just can't come out of nothing, or this has to be designed.
Tornado in a junkyard.
That's the tornado in the Ferrari or something like that.
Yeah. But it's a variation on like I said, the Paley's watchmaker argument. It's nothing new, right?
Oh no! Why would they need anything new? Although I do have to say, in terms of arguments that have been around for a while, intelligent design is pretty new. It's kind of repackaged, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and I mean that's got the legal background, right? Earlier, before we started this podcast, we talked about the Dover case, right?
Yes.
And there was a case prior to that, Epperson versus Arkansas. And that's when the term, creation science basically got replaced with intelligent design, because it's essentially, we're not going to get away with this if we call it creation science, so we have to rebrand this. Is essentially what went on there.
And that's what made Dover so important, is that Barbara Forrest and her team were actually able to prove that.
I know.
The book error is one of my favorites.
The
Pandas and people.
Yeah.
Pandas and people.
Something pandas.
Yeah, I love that. It's like, wait a minute, this version says creation in it.
Yes, and that literally, if you want to take it down to the brass tacks, that's what won the trial. And they were actually able to produce the Creation Institutes or Discovery Institutes. I'm getting them all confused. There are too many of them now. Their wedge document.
Yeah.
Which literally outlined their whole strategy.
Yep. It was pretty impressive, that. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I think my favorite part, though, was when Behe said that there was no research on evolution in the circulatory system, and they plopped the 80 articles in front of him. that was beautiful. That was a moment of beauty.
Yeah.
There was Nova did a documentary on that trial, I believe.
Yeah, I think I have it somewhere.
Yeah. I've seen it. I can't remember the name of it, but
I think it was
something on trial.
Yeah, it was Intelligent Design on Trial, maybe, or something like that, or Evolution on Trial.
Something like that. Yeah. That was a very good documentary. Yeah.
It was, absolutely. So, what is your goal with your research and what your work is? What's your goal with that?
To finish.
Of course.
Well, I mean, I guess ultimately I hope it brings awareness to policy issues in terms of, developing education. And, I grew up here in Calgary, and I really feel I derive great benefit from our secular education, right, from our secular school system. And yet, there's elements of this stuff creeping into our system. Maybe not so much here in Calgary in the big cities, but definitely in the smaller towns. Like, we've had issues with a place called Morinville, and I won't get too much into that, but I forgot my point now. But so I don't know if a lot of people are aware of this, but here in Calgary, like, when you pay your property taxes, they have a checkbox. You can either support the separate school system, which is the Catholic school system, or the public system, right?
We have that in Ontario as well.
Yeah. But in fact, our tax dollars go to support a lot of shit crazy stuff here. There's actually a Scientology school apparently in Edmonton. Some of our tax dollars are going to subsidize that. Like, not to mention a host of other, funded Christian schools and other.
How did the Scientologists manage that?
I guess because there's all kinds of talk about parental rights to choice and all this kind of thing, and no talk about children's rights to an education and parents' responsibility to provide that education, right?
Wow, that piqued my interest, because Scientology is a pet topic of Beth and I's. We have
it's a fun one, isn't it? Yeah.
We have an ex-Scientologist friend who's done a couple of shows with us, so it's very batshit crazy, but definitely.
Yeah. Chris, wow. How prevalent is the creeping in of the intelligent design / creationist bullshit up? At least by you, anyways. I mean, here in the States, it's like pretty much every school's battle. Yeah, literally in your. Is it getting to that point, or is it just starting to?
I think it's just starting to. There seems to be a small but vocal group of homeschoolers and this kind of thing that want to be able to teach their kids this stuff and shield them from, I don't know, evolution and they don't want to teach that, I don't know, for example, reality-based sex education and this kind of thing, right? So
and we saw how well we saw how well that works, didn't we?
Yeah, because there was a bill that was passed here in Alberta, I think in 2012, 2011, and around there. And basically it allows you to pull your child from a course pertaining to evolution, religion, or discussion of sexuality. Like, the teachers are supposed to let parents know in advance if they're going to talk about these topics, and then parents are allowed to pull their kids from these discussions. And I just think that's unbelievable.
It is.
Yeah. I see sex education as not just being something that an individual parent should, or has a right to say, oh no, I don't want my child to do this. This is a social responsibility, right? If your child's not educated, they become a health risk to the public, frankly.
That's right.
If they don't understand that a condom helps prevent, so it's not. I don't see it's like vaccinating too, right?
Yes.
It's framed as an individual choice, but really it's a social responsibility. You want to protect those that for legitimate reasons can't be vaccinated, And you know, my way of thinking is it's a social responsibility to ensure that you're vaccinated and your children are, right?
Absolutely. So, and that's why we have outbreaks of things that we thought we'd pretty much beaten. And I read a story, one of my Facebook friends posted a couple of months ago, and it was a woman whose 5-week-old child had been exposed because of a non-vaccinated child, and that her baby was too young to have even been vaccinated. And she said, you know, now I have to wait and hope that my child doesn't get this and die because some idiot decided that they don't want to vaccinate their child. And it's just
well, just like Spain just had a return of diphtheria.
Oh, jeez.
One child, unvaccinated, came in contact with diphtheria. Now, for people that don't understand diphtheria, you can have diphtheria, but what the vaccination does is it protects you from the exotoxins that the bacteria causes, and that's what makes you sick. Not having the diphtheria bacteria, per se, but the exotoxins it secretes. Well, so a vaccinated person won't have the sickness part of it. They'll still have diphtheria.
Right.
But now there's 8 kids that are being monitored. Now they're all vaccinated. But I mean, we got shit like that coming back. Diphtheria, it's been 40 years that they've had a case in Spain.
Did you guys see the I think it was Jimmy Kimmel that put that piece together where that was awesome.
I missed that.
Remember the time you got polio? No, you don't remember that because your parents got you vaccinated, right?
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, it's worth Googling. Yeah.
Well, there's a really good article that just came out last week. A girl who, well, she was like 5 or 6 when she got polio, and she is in an iron lung. And she's like in her 50s now, and she actually tells what it's like and why she's pushing for people to make sure they're vaccinated and stuff. I mean, there's a lot of people that are still around that remember those days.
Oh, for sure. Because it wasn't all that long ago.
No. You know. Now, Chris, you said something that kind of caught my attention. Canada and homeschooling. Is that an issue up there?
A little bit.
Let me rephrase that. Christian homeschooling.
Yes. Yeah. It's not exactly in the mainstream. I think maybe there's like 1% of people that are doing that. But churches have money. They have a voice. It is a marginal voice at this point, but
it's not like what's going on down here.
No, but discussions that wouldn't have happened here 10, 20 years ago are starting to happen here now, right? And I suspect that's true of the U.S. Maybe your voice is louder and more amplified because there's more on board with that kind of rhetoric. But I think Neil deGrasse Tyson makes a case. Like, America used to be a very pro-science, pro-education society. Back in after landing on the moon and stuff like that. Like, that was one of the things that made the country great and innovative and leading in the scientific realm, right? And I think there's been sort of this anti-intellectual climate that's been creeping in, and climate change denialism, evolution denialism, and it's like, what the hell? Like, what happened here, right? That's not how I grew up at all, right?
They're they're creating de-evolution. That's what they're working on.
Yeah. Because when I was a kid, I hate when people say that, but when I was growing up and going to school, nobody denied evolution. That would have been, frankly, I think we probably would have laughed at kids that went on about something like creationism. That would have been hilarious, right?
Hey now.
I'm sorry, but you didn't grow up here. Okay, so something about Calgary is that it's kind of like the Houston of it. It's like, right? So we have a lot of people that work for the oil industry, and as a consequence, people get transferred in and out from all over the world, and those children go to public schools, right? And so you get all kinds of kids from all kinds of different backgrounds, and it just seemed to be sort of this really neutral territory. It's like, do you believe in God? Oh, yes, I do. Or no, I don't. Whatever. Okay, let's move on. It just was no issue. But no, everybody was very moderate in that sense. Like I said, I don't ever remember a kid saying, oh, I don't believe in evolution. Maybe they might have had like a deist take on it, right? Like, oh, God created, I don't know, sparked off things, and evolution's a consequence of that or whatever, right? That would have been probably the most extreme thing I encountered as a child, right? And you know, that's fine. That's an okay position to have, right? But
I've always had the impression, being from Ontario, that more of the sort of right-wing fundy, for lack of a better term, nut jobs live out that way. Would you say that's true or not so much?
Yes, yeah, I would say that. But again, in a I think in the larger cities less so. It's some of the rural areas that it gets a little bit wingy, right?
Yeah. Because I'd heard that, but I've never actually had the opportunity to go west, so I really don't know. So, you can keep them.
Thank goodness Ted Cruz is gone. He was born here in Calgary. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I apologize on behalf of Calgary, but. So,
it's okay. I'm from the Stratford area, and we gave them Bieber, so.
I was going to say, we get freaking Ted Cruz and Justin Bieber from you folks.
Well, Nickelback came from here, too. I'm sorry. From Alberta,
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think we have any more crazies, and Celine Dion is Quebec, so we didn't give you her, sorry. We can't take credit for that.
Okay, Rush. We'll take Rush.
I was going to say, you gave us Rush, so all is good.
And we have a friend in Indiana who is head over heels in love with Rush, so she will thank you profusely for that.
Yes, she will.
Oh goodness! So Beth had some questions that she wanted to run by you, and Beth, do you want to talk about what you have planned there?
I'm going to play devil's advocate. These are, I won't say these are arguments I used to use, because some of these are like newer. I was just basically, God said it, therefore it happened. But I don't do a lot of debating. I have no patience for it. I get too emotional, and I like to tell people to go fuck off.
You're supposed to let them have a few rounds before you go right to the fuck off, just so you know.
Yeah, I'm lucky if I get past round one, but occasionally I do. And these are actually some of the arguments that I have run across that they try to use. And I'm not a sciencey type person. Those that know me know that my background is in apologetics. I'm a former Bible theology major. So you throw a Bible verse at me and I'm going to rip you to shreds, basically. Or a theology. So science stuff, I won't say I struggle with it, but if someone threw something, I would have to go and research it.
Yeah, that's the right thing to do.
So most of I do not debate vocally. I suck at it, and I know I suck at it. I'm working on that, thanks to Deb. She keeps trying. Yes, she tries. So these are just some of the. These are like I'll call them the 10 common ones that I've come across. I don't know if we'll get through all 10, but and this one is probably my favorite because of who it comes from. Basically, the complexity of living systems could never evolve by chance.
Yeah, that's. I think that goes to the God of the gaps argument, right? Where as science explains more and more, God kind of gets marginalized, and the idea that, first of all, there's lots of refuting evidence out there. If you look online, there's certain, we talked about Aaron Ra's foundations of what's it called? What's his podcast called again? I've had it.
The Raw Men.
Yeah, but he's got a series too. Foundational Falsehoods of Creationism. That's what it's
there
called.
we go.
Yeah, and also Thunderfoot does one called Why Do People Laugh at Creationists? And they do a very good job of identifying the science behind these actual claims, which I am no expert in, right? But that's a very lazy position. It's like, oh, it's too complex for us to understand, so let's just say God did it, right? I think that's what that boils down to, because for example, one of the things that gets brought up is how complicated the eye is, right? And if there's I think 3 or 4 separate instances where eyes evolved independently, right?
Yes.
And they start off as maybe something that just can allow light to enter or not, right?
Yeah.
And as though our eyesight is somehow perfect, like we're supposed to be made in God's image and all this kind of stuff. So. But we don't have perfect eyesight.
We suck.
We really do.
Case in point, I have cataracts going blind.
Yeah.
I'm legally blind in one eye. I have no depth perception, so there you go. Right?
Oh no.
It's fine. Well, I've lived that way my whole life, so it's fine. But to make this claim that somehow the eye is this wonderful instrument, yes, it is a wonderful advancement for our species, but there are other species that have way more advanced visual, capabilities.
Well, yeah.
Right?
And now you wouldn't know this, Chris, but I do a regular segment, which, as I was explaining before, I just got home, so there won't be one tonight because I wasn't here to make it. But there's a mailing list that our friend Dave Foda stuck me on called Creation Moments.
Oh,
and they there's some kind of creation ministries, and they do like a 2 to 3 minute sound bite thing every weekday, and I get this emailed every bloody day. And I did one 4 or 5 shows ago, and it was about a couple of deep sea fish that had evolved a type of eye that would reflect whatever little bit of light it got back through the eye so it could see better.
Mm-hmm.
And what was cool, and see, now they use this, God designed it because these 2 different fish evolved the same type of eye but on different parts of the eye, like the reflective area evolved in a different area of the eye. And so they were like, well, because it's not exactly the same, then God did it. And I'm like, no, dumbass, it's because they evolved in the same kind of environment, idiot.
Yeah.
And we don't have anything like that. I mean, we just have, our irises shrinking or expand depending on the light. But, there was so little light down in the depths of the ocean where these fish were that it evolved this sort of mirror thing in its eye, which I thought was pretty cool. But, just because it's on different parts of the eye doesn't mean shit other than, hey, evolution works in the right environment.
Yeah.
And I keep saying it like a broken record is, they say survival of the fittest means like the strongest thing always lives. Like, no, that means that the traits that are best suited to the environment the creature is in are the traits that will move forward.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's all it means. It's like I have to keep repeating it like a freaking broken record.
But well, I don't know. For some reason, I thought of bats too, and how they see with sound waves, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
But God did that too.
Yeah.
But to me, if it was an intelligent design, why would he not just give him really damn good eyes? Yeah,
and why don't we only see a limited, amount of the spectrum, and why don't we have 360-degree peripheral vision,
especially
at the back of our head, that would be helpful.
If we're supposed to have dominion over the earth and everything in it, you think we'd be able to see and smell better.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be having to go get a dog to find missing people. We could sniff them out ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But for those that aren't familiar, basically what I was referring to, it's Behe's argument, irreducible complexity.
Yeah.
And something we were talking about before we went live was that their rhetoric, as you put it, Chris, is not new. And a lot of people might not be aware with irreducible complexity is that this actually, predates, it goes back to 1st and 2nd century with Galen.
Right. I didn't even know that. So there you go.
Neither did I. So,
and it goes, now to imagine that all these things, according to their several kinds, could be brought into this regular frame in order to which such an infinite number of intentions are required, without the contrivance of some wise agent, must needs be irrational in the highest degree. It's just, and that's what God of the gaps.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I know. I was mentioning before too when I've talked about belonging to this Yahoo group full of fundies on the show before, and they were like, Pavlov's dogs when they found out that I didn't know about intelligent design and irreducible complexity, and the one that they loved was the bacterial flagellum. And, it's a propulsion system on the bacterium, and if you take away one part, then the whole thing won't work. Therefore, it was designed. And I'm like, okay, so I went and looked it up, and I'm like, bacterium injector system, exactly the same thing, except it's missing a couple of parts. Hello, creationist.
Yeah. And the people that put these claims out, some of them know full well that evidence is out there, which is really quite, like you think if you're confronted with evidence to the contrary of your beliefs, you might like to say, oh, wait a minute, I was wrong. But they
double down.
Exactly.
Coming from somebody like Kent Hovind or Ken Ham, I can see it's all money for them.
Yeah.
They're not scientists. They never were, never will be. But somebody like Behe, who is an academic, I just don't understand how, faced with all the evidence that we do have pointing to evolution, how he can do that.
Mental gymnastics.
I believe that some of them are told when they enter university by their churches, okay, you learn this stuff, but don't believe it, right?
Yeah.
So they are able to acquire PhDs and earn that credential, and then they, basically use that to defend the religion.
So they would be approaching it as a fiction or in terms of philosophy or something like that?
I think so, or, I'm even wondering if sometimes there's like a deliberate way of, putting these people that have a certain belief that are clever, that can get through a PhD and positioning them in that realm, right? Deliberately so. Yeah, you play along till you earn your degree, and then you get the chance to.
See, now that sounds a lot like Mark Armitage.
Who? Mark?
He was a professor, for lack of a better term, who in California he was fired from the university because he was promoting intelligent design and jumped on the finding where they found not live tissue but soft tissue and were able to do a DNA sequence. Yeah. And the creationist belief is that soft tissue cannot survive the fossilization process. And now the school did mishandle his firing, but that's besides the issue. But he jumped all over this and used the prestige of the school to promote his views, and the school didn't like it.
Right.
And one of the articles I read, I wrote up a blog post on it, but one of the articles pointed out that it's like you had just mentioned, that they go and get these degrees to become a mole.
Essentially. Right. I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but that is what, sometimes it really is a conspiracy, right?
Yeah.
Well, and it's funny because I went to a Christian college, well known for their pre-med program, and Sundays and weekdays during chapel it was creationism. or the Bible. Let me rephrase that. But in biology class, it was evolution. And I don't remember in any of the classes I took where they said, but there's this that disputes, I mean...
That's actually quite comforting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of all people that I would want definitely believing in evolution, it would be a medical doctor.
Oh, yeah.
Well, when I had MRSA 2 years ago, and I had to go and have the infection lanced and drained, I have 5 holes in my armpit because of it. And I don't know how the doctor, it was a new doctor of mine, was on vacation, so I didn't know this guy, and I'm really weird about going to doctors. I mean, I've had the same doctor for going on 16 years.
Yeah.
And somehow we got into the topic of religion, and just general conversation, and then he said that he was a creationist. And I was about ready to get up and walk out the door, and he goes, "But I trust science." I was
that's good.
Yeah.
I was about ready to bolt. He said because I'm like. And I asked him point blank, I said, how the hell are you a doctor then?
Yeah.
So even with him, I mean, we talked about it, and I don't remember how it went because I think I was in such shock that I was like, I mean, and you're going to stick that in my arm? Oh, hell no. Thankfully, he was a lot like my uncle, who was my doctor when growing up. The old man, nice, talkative, I was like, says positive, because at that point, that was the only thing going for him. But yeah, I just don't understand that cognitive dissonance. Like me.
I don't either, but I guess if you're invested in the faith being true, and especially if you think you're on the way to heaven and all of that, then yeah, I can see that, I suppose.
Well, and there are good scientists, like Francis Collins, for example, right?
Yeah.
They're able to check their beliefs at the door and proceed on with science and do a good job with it, right?
Yeah.
And make huge, meaningful contributions. I don't know how they do it either, because I totally agree that there's cognitive dissonance there, but they do it. I'm not going to knock them. Like if you're contributing and, like I said, able to check your beliefs at the door and contribute to the betterment of humanity, I'm okay with that, right? Just don't put your bullshit into legislation or try to,
exactly.
Live
for the ones that can make it work and know when to do their job that they want and when to leave the religion at the door, that I'm totally cool with that. But it's when they start sort of, well, I'm not going to give you your medication, or it's against my religion to do this or that, then you have no business being in that profession.
Absolutely. Yeah, like here in Calgary, there was a woman, I think, that refused to give the birth control pill, and that caused a shitstorm in our media, and I'm glad,
Good.
Because, if you can't do your job and prescribe something so basic as birth control, which is not always used for birth control, there's other applications,
That's right.
You shouldn't be, go work at Starbucks, or somewhere else. Like, you're not qualified to do that job. You are obligated to the public to perform a service of which birth control is, comfortably resides under that service. And if you can't do that, then I'm sorry, then you shouldn't be,
That's right.
practicing medicine. And full well going into it when you're a student, you have ample time to change your mind and change your career path, and you still refuse to, sorry, you don't belong in that job. And it sounds harsh. This conscience law is saying that you folks in the States are Beth, I'm not blaming you for all Americans, but you know what I'm talking about, this conscience laws, right? That's starting to creep in here every once in a while too, and that's, again, I think the general Canadian attitude is you check your beliefs at the door and do your job, right? If a woman is dying and needs an abortion, you do the fucking abortion, right?
Exactly.
It's your duty, right? It's
not
qualified
like
to do
Ireland.
that, obviously, but yeah, with that woman,
That poor woman. It's like, come on, like, if you really think God is going to be happy that you let, a woman die or a fetus? And we all know that they don't give it.
Well, the fetus wasn't viable anyway.
Exactly.
So rather than just, like facing the loss of one human, they throw this woman under the bus that could have been saved. What kind of morality is that? That's not moral.
Well, look at the 10-year-old girl.
Yeah.
Was it last week where I want to say Brazil, but don't quote me. I think it was definitely South America, where the courts or I'm not sure if it was the legal courts ruled that she could not have an abortion, and she's 10 fucking years old.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
I mean, if the pregnancy don't kill her, giving birth probably will.
Yeah. And this is moral? I think not.
Mm-hmm.
That is
deplorable. The thing that gets me too is they don't give a damn once the fetus gets here.
Yeah. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps, fetus or baby,
Go get a job. Go get a job and buy your own milk.
Deb, you're
down to the coal mines with you, right?
Concerning they don't give a damn once they're born, it's fine, and not to get into this rigmarole, but the Rachel Dolezal case.
Yeah.
The woman that was white, who considers herself black, that was had just resigned.
Yeah.
That was her parents' reason for adopting.
They saved her from an abortion.
No, she wasn't adopted, but she has 2 younger brothers that are black that were adopted, and one of the sources I read cited that the father said, "We are living our faith," not just saying the rhetoric that like what you're saying with once they're born. Oh, we're living our faith and showing you that we'll take care of them once they're born.
Right. Well, I met one person in that old Yahoo group that claimed that they adopted the baby they quote saved. So it can happen, but by and large, you're right. They're like, come on, baby, go get a job and support yourself, you lazy bum.
Yeah, a fetus has rights until the minute it's born, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So have you got another devil's advocate question there, Beth?
Chris, please explain to me. There's a total lack of undisputed examples, fossilized or living, of the millions of transitional forms required for evolution to be true, i.e. Kirk Cameron's Crocoduck.
Well, again, not being a scientist, I would actually refer you to King Crocoduck's video on the fossil record. Like, he just goes through, I don't know if you've seen it, that's worth looking up too. But, oh my goodness, you could throw fossils and knock them upside the head with them, and they still will not accept that, it's unbelievable, right? What's that particular fish that they predicted? And we found it here in Canada.
Tiktaalik.
Yeah.
Tiktaalik.
Can you ever say it? Tiktaalik, yeah. Right there and there. And
transitional. You don't get much more transitional than a Tiktaalik.
Yeah. And that was predicted too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's not like that was, we can fit it in. They actually predicted that they would find this eventually, and they found it.
And they did it. They weren't just digging like, I wonder what we'll find here. They're like, no, there should be this fish here.
Yeah.
Oh, look, there it is.
Yeah.
Oh, but Satan did that to trip up everybody's faith. Didn't you know that?
So we can predict the works of Satan. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Well, I think what kills me about that whole argument, at least from my perspective, and I just lost my thought.
Oh no.
Oh, Craig. Oh, no. Where was I going with that?
I don't know.
Well, it's sheer and utter denial. They know these are out there if they just want to look, and surely they've been shoved in their face, right?
And then they come up with some. They come up with some bullshit about it being faked or something. But go ahead before you forget again.
They talk about fossils and finding the fossils. What they don't realize is what it takes to become a fossil.
Yeah.
Not everything.
Fossils are not common.
Yeah, they are not. I mean, so, yeah, it might, they made the prediction of the, quote, Tiktaalik. How many years ago, and they just, found it. I mean, it was, what, a good 20 years? Or was it a shorter time? They made, roughly. Is what we should find, but we haven't yet. Oh, we found it. I mean, a lot of the creationist ideas think that everything that died is a fossil, and that's not true.
No.
I mean, I think they say 1%, less than 1% of
the animal has to die in the exact right place at the exact right time for a fossil to form.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's all Satan.
He don't exist.
Or my other favorite one is evolutionists plant them all.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Like they all have time for that.
Well, and the thing is, go ahead, Chris.
I was just going to bring up Piltdown Man or whatever. Pilt, the hoax.
Oh, the Piltdown Man.
Yeah. And yes, it was a hoax, but who figured out the hoax? It was scientists that figured out the hoax.
I know. Right? It's not like,
it's a self-correcting process.
It's not like some creationist went, oh, I know that's a fake, and you lied. It's like, no. It's like, hey, you scientist, you screwed up, and the rest of us are going to fix that and stop that already.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because that's the common one they bring up, right?
Oh, they love it because it's like, oh, that one was a hoax. Therefore, every other fossil ever found was a hoax by an evolutionist.
Or as Lloyd Pye used to say, well, because that was a hoax, that means that science lies. Therefore, all science is lying.
Oh yeah.
If you want to get into, Lloyd Pye is he was the Star Child.
I'm sorry, my phone was supposed to be muted. Give me a sec.
Yep.
Well, that was strange.
That's okay. Shit happens. Go ahead.
But yeah, Lloyd Pye is the one that houses the Star Child.
Right.
For those that don't know, it is assumed that it was either preborn that possibly had encephalitis, and he's passing it off as, of course, ancient aliens.
Of course.
Yeah, he's one. He also had what the hell is the name? What science? He had a movie or a book come out similar title to "What Science Doesn't Tell You" or "What Science Doesn't Know," and his whole shtick is based on, well, science was wrong about this, they're wrong about everything else.
Of course. But you try that with the Bible, and oh no, that can't be. Because, a rabbit, it chews its cud, and bats are birds, and donkeys talk, and snakes talk, and yeah.
Please accept my apologies for that. I actually did stash my phone, but I've got a fax machine sitting right next to me, and I forgot that rings as well. So
that's okay. It happens. Not to worry. Not to worry. But yeah, they just kind of brush. Oh well, that could be faked, or that was faked, and that's what that Nephilim likes to do. If you've ever, have you heard of Nephilim Free, Chris?
I have. I haven't watched too much. I've probably seen like a takedown video or two of that.
Yeah.
But it's kind of on the peripheries for me. But yeah, I've definitely.
I went on one of his hangouts once. That was a trip, let me tell you. He's very good at the Gish Gala.
Okay. Yeah.
Very good at that.
See, now there's a tactic that works really well on a debating context, right? We're talking about the temporal aspect of that. Yeah. On paper, not so much. If you have the time to contemplate, or it's a a written piece or a video or something, you can take time and respond to it. But in a debating context, you got to be on your feet. Very effective. Absolutely. Very effective.
Very effective. Yeah, he just loves to ramble and.
Yeah, and trying to get someone to stop the gish gallop when you call them out on it. Keep going. Oh, there was Forbidden Fruit one night. There's I forgot how we got into the topic. We got into debating creation evolution, and then it went to LGBT. Nobody's born gay, yada yada. And he just gish galloped through, and of course he hit one that I happen to know off the top of my head. And he's like, well, give me studies. So I listed off a whole bunch of studies on the, homosexuality occurring in nature. And he's like, well, how do you know these are real scientists? I'm like, he just, everything, I'm like, I think that's the one I actually ended up having to hang up because I was getting so mad. And
So, like, when you go to the doctor, do you ask, how do I know you're a real doctor?
Well, sometimes that might be a legitimate question. Clearly.
Yes. Depends on where you go, I guess.
I think if you manage to get published in a peer-reviewed, journal, that demonstrates that you. It's part of the scientific method is to be challenged by your peers, and if you can, successfully go through those challenges, even if your argument is wrong, right? It's still it's still plausible, and you've been subjected to the criticism of your peers, and that means something, and it's if you're not scientifically literate, that's an issue. You don't know what expertise means and how to seek it out so that you find good information, right?
That's right.
Absolutely. Well, hitting on the whole peer review thing, especially within the anti-vaxxer crowd, they say that the peer review process is corrupt, and of course they point to none other than Andrew Wakefield. Yeah. And basically, and their whole, how for somebody like Deb and I, and those in our audience that aren't science literate, how do you, when you say go to peer review, well, how is there a way to judge what's good peer review? Because now the issue is there are paid journals where people use Wakefield as an example, although as far as I know he's not done this, so I'm not saying he has. He will pay this journal to publish his article, and then they have people that will, quote, review the article.
Right. I don't think that was the case with him. I think he was published in, The Lancet, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's not a corrupt process, but it is a flawed process, and occasionally stuff does get through. And that's why you put it out there, is because you put that research out there, and people say, oh, that's bullshit, and then you get 1,000 studies that refute it, right? Yeah. Which don't unfortunately make the headlines because they're boring, and the sensational story is the one that persists, right? Even it's because it's interesting, and people like Oprah talk about it, and that this kind of stuff, right? But when the boring truth comes out, it's like a tiny little afterthought on page 30 of I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and that's the problem with not so much peer review, but with these journals. Like I was saying, there's some journals that you pay them to publish, and what you're paying them for is they pay reviewers to review your work and say it's good. And these people, 99, one article I read was saying that most of the time these people don't even read the research that's been done, and and it's corrupting the whole peer review process.
But there are journal ranking metrics. Right. There's a couple of really good websites that do rank journals according to their credibility and the credentials of the people that are editing.
And that was the point I was trying to get to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, because I saw a show that dealt with that, and for the life of me, I can't remember which one it was now, but they talked about that ranking system and how, okay, here's how the community ranks a specific journal, and then there's another ranking of how often is this particular German cited by other works as a good source. And so you could look at it.
Yeah, you said German.
Did I really?
Yes. Like, wait a minute.
I'm tired. Sorry, I still have vacation brain, but yeah, journal. Yes, they rank the journal by how often it's cited by other sources as a way of determining its ranking amongst the other journals.
Yeah. We'll have to try to find that link so we can post it, because that's a good resource to have.
Absolutely.
And I think one of the issues with the peer review process is that failures don't get published. And of course, that makes perfect sense, because you're not going to, you want to publish the successes so that people know what's going on. But it's important that we know what's failed too, because well, first of all, I guess it would take away the redundancy if somebody else is going to go off on the same path, and somebody else has already done that, And failure is an important part of progress, right?
Absolutely. I think that would be really good. And like you said, so someone else isn't coming along wasting time and resources on something that's already been determined to not work.
Yeah.
And that way also, to me, it would make it more visible how the scientific community corrects itself. If you publish the failures, and along with the peer reviews that say, no, you've got a problem here, and a problem here, and a problem here, and no, that doesn't work. And people would be able to say, oh, well, yeah, that makes sense. I can see why nothing ever happened with that.
Well, and the people that did the research themselves will typically say, okay, this is why it didn't work. And, lessons learned, right? So
exactly.
And I think that's a conversation worth having, right?
Yeah. Well, I know one of the criticisms coming out of the anti-vax movement, and if you look at the anti-vax and if you look at the intelligent design community, their arguments are almost identical. So, I mean, there is a crossover with the anti-vaxxers, going to the failures not being published. They're saying they're intentionally not published.
Oh, yeah.
To hide the, quote, failures. And in their case, they're saying there are studies out there, according to them, that prove that, vaccines are dangerous. Well,
yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, the same thing. I mean, like we were talking before the show, there are no scientific studies on creation.
Yeah. Because the people that are producing were being persecuted by the academic community, and they can't exercise their academic freedom, right?
I just did a creation moment on that in our last show, I think, wasn't it? The one I did before I left.
I think so, yeah.
There was some creationist guy wrote a book, Slaughter of... Oh, what the hell was it?
No, it wasn't. Oh, it was the takeoff of Slaughter.
Yeah, it was a takeoff of Slaughter of the Innocents.
Okay, no, I'm thinking of something else.
Yeah, oh, damn. I'm going to kick myself. I can't remember what the hell it was called now, but yeah, it was just ridiculous. And this guy, like, I looked up this guy, and he had been caught. What was he caught doing now? Oh, shit.
Puffing the CV.
That's right. He tried to get tenure at a school in 1979, and he was rejected because he claimed that a Ph.D. in research and something or other was actually a Ph.D. in psychology, and that he was a, quote, therapist when he wasn't. And, of course, he didn't get tenure, and the school's policy was that if you don't get tenure after 7 years, then you have to move on. And so he got fired, and he blamed the school, saying that they fired him and didn't give him tenure because they knew he was a creationist. And he fought it for was it like 7 years in the courts.
He's still fighting it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's still belly aching about it anyway.
Yeah. I mean, is it firing or is it just a matter of not renewing a contract, right?
It was. It was. Like, the school's policy was that if you don't get tenure after 7 years of employment, your employment is terminated. He did not get tenure because he puffed his CV. And they let him work to the end of the 7 years, which was like another, I think, almost a year, and then he was fired. Because,
well, he didn't have his Ph.D. either.
That's He did, but in something else that was
not related. He was during that 7 years. Wasn't he working on another Ph.D.?
He started something like 4 PhDs, and he only finished 1, and it was something in a discipline unrelated to what he was trying to get tenure for. But that was the guy, and so then he writes a book saying that creationists are being persecuted academically, and I didn't read it, obviously. This was one of those creation moments, and they were like, Christians are being persecuted. I'm like, yeah, go try street preaching in Saudi Arabia and tell me how that goes, bub.
Yeah. Well, it reminds me of that Ben Stein movie.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And those,
I know what you mean.
Yeah. Intelligent. What was it called again? Expelled. No intelligence.
Expelled. Yeah. And actually, that movie was in part inspiration for this book as well. So they claimed. I think it was more him looking for support in his complaint that he was persecuted. Oh, you don't believe I was persecuted? Look at this list of other creationists that were persecuted. I think that's what he was more going for, but it works.
Yeah.
But it was pretty ridiculous, and they were all like, you don't believe it, but look, here's all these Christians being persecuted. I'm like, no, you don't know what persecution is.
No kidding. Yeah. That's a sad claim. Oh, it is. Oh, okay. So bringing up the shooting recently, the terrorist attack I was so angry with Fox News for trying to frame that as an attack on Christianity.
Oh,
I was, that's just ridiculous. It was so blatantly racial. I'm sorry to take us off track there, but the media is a problem. Fox News. I don't even like to. It's like I have to wash my mouth out with soap after I
know. They should make them call it newsertainment or something like that.
Well, they call it a media outlet, right? And there's a reason why they call it a media outlet. Is because what was it? There was a case where essentially it was deemed that it's not illegal to lie. So that's when the term shift from news organization to media outlet, right?
I believe they were sued.
Yes, they were sued in 1992.
Yeah.
And they are considered entertainment. They are not considered news. That's how they get around it. And are they still banned up in Canada?
They never were.
No, they're not banned. But our legislation is more. You can't lie on in the media, and if you accidentally disclose, say something that is incorrect, you have to retract it and correct it, right? We don't have those same standards.
So they were never actually banned then.
No.
Okay.
That I believe you can find that on Snopes as an urban legend.
Okay. I didn't even know that there was talk of it because nothing's banned here. We can always get it on the internet, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Exactly.
Although we have hate speech laws that might be a little more strict here in Canada, we have a long history of not being censorship oriented, right?
Yeah.
We do a lot less censorship in our our popular culture, for example, than happens in the U.S.
Right.
So yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
But Fox thing.
News.
News. for those listening later, that was air quotes in very large quantities.
Yeah.
Actually, that was one of my I don't know if it was because I was mostly in the South last week, but every morning when we had breakfast at the hotel, they always had friggin' Fox News on. I was like, really? Do I have to look at this bullshit while I eat? You want me?
How did you eat?
It's like, you don't want me to eat. Okay, I get it.
Budget concerns, right?
You didn't get enough continental breakfast for everyone, so you're trying to turn off my appetite. I get it.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
Oh man, that's brutal. Yeah, and of course you're in the lounge, so you don't have a clicker to change it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have cared who the hell was looking at it. I would change that bastard. But yeah,
I don't know. I probably would have pointed and laughed. Maybe that, if there were other customers, look what the.
Yeah, that's true too. They didn't say anything really stupid while I was watching, but it was just the whole like, ew, Fox News at breakfast. Ugh.
We get that sometimes at work.
Yeah.
And I'm like, serious. I mean, and everybody at work knows my political slant. Although I think I am having a little bit of an effect. At least a couple that I know that are watching it are thinking critically. So I got to give them credit there.
Yay! That's always
so, Chris, isn't time your god?
Time?
Oh, you've never heard that phrase?
I haven't heard that one.
Okay. That comes from William Lane Craig, and in his debates he likes to twist the dating methods that evolutionists rely upon to assign millions and billions of years to rocks are inconsistent, and basically he's saying that time is our god.
Who puts that? Did you say William Lane Craig puts that one out there?
Yep.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. That sounded more like a much more naive claim than he would put out, because I know he loves the Kalam cosmological argument. Right?
Yeah. Well, I think that predated his resurrection of Kalam, if I remember. But basically, what he's attacking is the dating methods that use radioactive decay.
Yeah, there's another wingnut out there that has actually managed to, publish these kind of counter arguments to the dating method and saying, certain ones don't work. But again, I'm not a scientist, but I know that I think part of the gist of that argument is they say it's circular because how does that go now? I'm not going to articulate it very well, but there's kind of, the fact that we use radiometric dating to determine the age of something, and we also use the age of something to validate radiometric dating, right?
Right.
Yeah. And they seem to take this term as though there's one method of radiometric dating that kind of is a be all end all. When I think I don't know, again, not being a scientist, but there's different ways of dating something using different
methods, and that's right? What they don't get.
And you triangulate those methods, right? And so
like certain methods will work with living tissue, but they will date to like 3 to 10,000 years, and I'm probably off on my numbers, so please don't quote me. And then there's another method that will go farther that they can use on non-material, like the rocks and the strata and stuff. So they just don't understand how the different dating methods work, which is, I run into this a lot. One of my fascinations with is the whole Genesis 6 giants, and they always bring up the radiocarbon dating in regards to the Nephilim and all this, and it's like, seriously, you don't even understand how it works. I mean, not that I do, but these guys really don't.
Yeah.
I mean, is there? I mean, going to what your PhDs you're working on, is there like a point behind why they would attack like the dating method, or is Craig likes to say, time is your god?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think it's part of the bigger strategy to attack science, right? It's just one. It's just one of those tools that they use to try to, you know, deny evolution and science more broadly, right? So, yeah, it's just another jab, I suppose, right? Like, I don't think that argument in and of itself is particularly persuasive, but when you combine some of these tactics together, clearly they are persuading people to buy into, you know, that, I don't want to call it a theory, intelligent design
hypothesis?
Claim. I wouldn't even give it the
claim.
Hypothesis.
Yeah.
Because they're not offering anything, an empirical claim that you can test, right? Like you said earlier, right?
Yeah.
All they do is debunk or try to debunk, you know, existing things, and they don't offer anything, right? Except God did.
They make assertions that they have no means of proving or supporting with data, and you know, to. I mean, you can't even tweak it to maybe design an experiment to explain it. I mean, there's just nothing there. It all comes down to God did it, and like we were talking before the show, one of the biggest instances, like, is that you get rid of creationism, the whole, like you said, the whole house of cards falls. Because without the creation story, you do not have the fall. You don't have original sin. Although original sin is not a concept from the Bible, that was added later. You get rid of original sin, well, guess what else you get rid of?
You don't need Jesus for that.
The whole mission behind Jesus and the whole concept of vicarious redemption, which is a lot of atheists' favorite talking points. Yeah. So that's why from my standpoint, the whole creationist intelligent design argument is so important to the Reich, because without it, they have nothing, and if they can't support the quote redemption of Christ, everything else falls. Their abortion arguments fall, their gay marriage arguments fall. I mean, I wrote a post where Ken Ham actually admitted that without the creationism, they have nothing to fight the LGBT community with.
Yeah.
So, ladies, I think what I will do is, I've never done this, but I think I'm going to replay a creation moment. It's labeled number 2, so it's from a long time ago. Looks like March, it might have been. It doesn't have video, but I can put up something or other. I don't know, but you guys. There you go. So I will play that, and then you guys can have a quick break, and then we'll come back and yap some more. So let me try. This should be the one about the tree frogs, Beth.
Okay, I'm going to take you up on that break, so I'm not going to hear the clip, but I will be back briefly.
That's okay.
Atheist's nightmare. Your homemade banana, just the right shape for the human mouth.
Oh yeah.
Chewy, easy to digest, and it's even curved toward the face to make the whole process so much easier.
I choose to believe that the Earth is young. When we do that, when we understand that creation is the truth, then we understand where all of our doctrine comes from as well.
I just want to let you know that there actually is a book out there that actually tells us where matter came from. Bill, I do want to say that there is a book out there.
Next time you hear on television somebody say millions of years ago, what's the question we're going to ask them? Were you there? Were you there? Call them up on the telephone and say, excuse me, Mr. TV man, were you there? Only way we could know what happened in the past if someone was there to tell us. That's right, dinosaurs lived beside people. And of course you'll have an evolutionist who'll say, that's not right, dinosaurs lived millions of years ago. What do you ask them? Were you there?
Hello and welcome to this week's Creation Moment. A little slice of creation silliness that I get in my email several times a day that I'd like to share with you so that we can all be enlightened as to just how crazy creation shit is. This week, the host, Ian Taylor, is going to tell us about the golden toad. Let's listen to what he has to say.
All toads are not fat and ugly. The golden toad, which lives only a few square miles in a cloud forest of Costa Rica, is a trim and slim toad with a garishly bright orange colouring. The golden toad offers even more surprises. After the first heavy rain of the year, as many as 20 to 30 males congregate around a pool of water. They sit motionless, waiting for the first female to arrive.
Now let's pause right there for a second. A pool of water. He makes it sound like they found a pond or something. But see, I went and looked this up. These frogs would come out during the rainy season, and this wasn't a pond. This was puddles at the bottom of the trees. So it's not like they found a pond or anything. We're talking about puddles of water that are only there because it's the rainy season. Now, what else does Mr. Taylor have to say?
Before long, the females begin to arrive, and a week or so later, the entire population of golden toads, now numbering in the thousands, disappears back into the jungle to remain almost invisible for another year. This breeding strategy shows a great deal of wisdom and understanding that ensures that there are plenty of golden toads in the next generation. Toads have many enemies in the jungle, but by all getting together at the same time, they can produce far more young than their predators can victimize in a single week.
Okay, this is just ridiculous. Because like I said, I looked this up, and it turns out that the last sighting of any golden toad was in 1989. They're labeled as extinct. So where he gets the idea that the toads would number in the thousands, or that this was some kind of great strategy for breeding, beats me, because one of the issues with the breeding practice of waiting around these puddles of water is that if there was too much rain, all the tadpoles would get washed away. And if there wasn't enough rain, then all the poor little tadpoles would dry up. So the toads' breeding practices really hinged on how much rainwater there would be. It had to be just the right amount. And obviously that wasn't working so well. And as far as the predators not getting a time to eat enough of them, well, they're extinct. So something really wasn't working too well there. What else does Mr. Taylor have to say?
You don't have to be a college graduate to know that toads are incapable of the kind of planning and ability to change their physical natures necessary to carry out this strategy. Evolutionists would say that no one thought of this strategy, but the clear answer is that there is a creator and he cares about all his creatures.
Okay, I don't know where he gets the idea that the toads have changed their physical nature because they went to find water in which to hatch their eggs into tadpoles. That's kind of instinctual. And like I said before, this quote strategy really didn't work so well because there aren't any toads left as far as we know. The last mating season took place in 1987. And there obviously wasn't enough toads that were created then because, well, we don't seem to have any left. Now, Mr. Taylor doesn't actually give this prayer, but on the hard copy of the creation moment that I receive in my email, it provides a prayer to close out the thought of the week's information. And this prayer makes me laugh. Dear Father, not a sparrow drops from the sky without your knowledge and purpose. Not even toads lack your care. Now let's stop there for a second. If God really cared about there being more toads, I think we might have some more golden toads left. But we don't. To continue, it says, help me to remember your care when I am anxious about the cares of living. Right, so the care God showed that allowed the toads to go extinct, I'm supposed to remember that when I'm having trouble. Doesn't seem very encouraging, does it? So, as we've seen, golden toads not doing so hot. If there are any left, no one has seen one since 1989. So their brilliant and intelligent breeding strategy that God provided from them, not doing so hot. Anyway, Thanks for listening, and that was this week's Creation Moment.
There we go. All better. Yeah. Did you catch any of that, Christine?
Some of it. When I first left, I thought you were going to bring up Banana Man, and I'm like, oh no, Banana Man. But what was it? I did miss the first part.
They were talking about them. They had this, perfect breeding process that God designed, and that's why they're extinct. I couldn't believe that. This was like new in March. They came out with this in March, going on and on about these golden tree toads, and it took me all of 5 minutes of Googling, and I'm like, they don't exist anymore.
Wow.
So, yeah. No, Banana Man's part of the intro. There's Banana Man, and you'll like this. Another show that I do, I'm a panelist on, we've nicknamed Ken Ham as Amish Wolverine. So, yeah.
How did you come up with? There's a story behind this, I know.
I didn't. It was one of the other co-hosts, I think Howard, who might be listening. So if you are still there, Tech, if you want to pop that explanation in the Q&A, that would be awesome. Because I don't know where they got it from. So
Amish.
Amish because of the beard.
Okay.
Well, he's actually been compared also to
a Neanderthal, probably.
Yes, thank you.
Because he looks like one.
Like, yeah.
And then the other voice on there is a creationist that actually came to one of our local churches to speak. Is an Australian guy by the name of Peter Sparrow. He and his wife drove around Australia for 17 years in the creation bus and brainwashed little children. He happened to come and speak here in town last November, and I went to see that. And as I like to say, it was right out of the Ken Ham School of Stupid.
Is that traveling creation display or whatever? There's 3 creation things in Canada, and I think 3 or 4, and I think only one isn't from Alberta, which is really embarrassing.
Well, this guy, he was only visiting from Australia. I think he and his wife have retired their creation bus now.
Okay.
But he was just visiting.
Maybe Alberta got it.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't be surprised, but this guy, he had you've probably seen it. It's the picture of the cow jumping the waves next to the dolphin.
I haven't. I haven't even heard of this one.
Oh man! And then he had his interpretation of a transitional fossil or a transitional creature. It was like, it had an alligator head and bird's wings and cloved hooves on one end and a horse. It was ridiculous. And I'm like, all that proves is that you don't know shit about evolution, guy. Really.
Yeah.
And the funny part was at the end, because he's Australian, I'm like, well, it's kind of cliche, but I had to ask. I'm like, so you're from Australia, do you know Ken Ham? And he's like, oh, he stays at my house. And I'm like, I wouldn't admit that in public, bud.
I'm kidding.
Tech asked which explanation, and you're referring to...
Where did Amish Wolverine come from? Because he's the one that invokes it the most. Oh. Yeah, he did say that. Amish Wolverine. Yep. I figured Tech would be watching. Yeah, he's one of my co-panelists. Actually, we have a panelist in Calgary.
Okay.
On that show. His name is Chris and I can't pronounce his last name. It's Hividson or something.
Okay.
The hell if I can pronounce it, but he goes online by Dallin.
Okay. Huh.
So, yeah, that's a very cosmopolitan panel. We've got Dallin and I are in Canada. Then we have our friend Joseph, who's from London, Ontario, but's been living in Paris, France for the last 25 years. And we have another gentleman, Chris, from England. And then we have Renee from the States, and Joey from the States, and Shujin Tribble, who's the host, is in Buffalo, and Unrenowned Tech there, who's in Maryland somewhere. So we have a rather cosmopolitan crew on that show.
Cool. Yeah.
But,
what's the name of it?
It's called Holy Crap, the Vlogcast.
Okay.
We're live midnight on Sunday mornings, but it is on YouTube, and they're working on publishing it as a podcast as well.
Cool. Yeah.
So it's fun. We talk about anything, really. I like it because I'm not the host, and I just get to show up and talk. Yes, I know, Shujin. Hi.
How do you tell who's online? I'm admitting my ignorance here. I haven't done Google Hangouts too many times, but I'm curious to see who's joined us.
Well, we can't actually see, except if you click on Q&A on the left-hand side, you can see comments by some folks who've been listening. So other than that, we can't actually see. I know Tech usually messages me, and I knew he would be listening. So, and Katie, Katie was there. So hello to Katie. She watches a lot of our shows.
Yes, she does.
Which is cool. Yeah, she was on a Power of 10 show too. And I don't think he's written anything yet, but you're watching, Beth. If you see his explanation for Amish Wolverine, that would be awesome. So yeah, that was. Go ahead, Beth.
No, finish your thought, and then I'll ask my question.
Oh, I was pretty much done. So you go ahead and ask.
Speaking of Ken Ham.
Were you there? Were you there?
What is? I mean, I know the ham on rye or ham on rye. Sorry, Bill. I'm hungry. I'm sorry. Food. In my blog post, I referred it to the ham on rye debate.
Yeah.
Granted, it was well, actually over a year now. What are your thoughts on it? Do you think that was a good idea, bad idea, and what good do you think has come out of that?
I think he did an amazing job, actually, and I actually wrote a paper about this that I need to deal with and that kind of thing, but I'm going to be presenting. I'm actually presenting this at the Amazing Meeting in Vegas in July.
Nice.
I'm part of the 15-minute kind of, what do they call it, the Sunday morning conference session. And I kind of framed it around ethos, pathos, and logos, which are, rhetorical terms. Ethos being, I'll just, for the benefit of people who don't know, ethos is an appeal to the emotion, logos is an appeal to logic and reason, and pathos is an appeal to the emotions, right? Did I say that? Ethos pertains to the character of the speaker, right? And so in Bill Nye's case, I think what he really did well, logically speaking, what he did was rather than presenting himself as an expert, he presented himself as, what was the word he used? Not everyday man. I'm sorry, I wish I had my paper in front of me.
A layman?
A layman. He had a different word for it, but or a different phrase for it, but basically just a person asking. I'm a the common man asking questions, and I thought that was really effective because it served to allow him to talk about things in really plain language, right? And this appeal to storytelling. He would start off with a personal narrative, and then he would weave it into a story about science and the history of science and make a broader point. And another thing that I thought he did really, really well was this appeal to the audience as citizens and taxpayers. I thought that was just amazing. And talking about the future of the country and how much education depends on a literate population who are going to sustain innovation, right? I think generally, and I can understand why people were, oh, don't do that debate kind of thing. I think it could generally be ill-advised because A, it lends credibility to them, the side of things by actually engaging real scientists in the debate, and B, the Gish Gallop thing again, right? And in that temporal context, and they throw more stuff than you can reasonably, you can barely just begin to, I don't know, like separate the bullshit from the grains of truth that make this seem plausible, right? So I think Bill was really, really effective, and I think there's a lot of good lessons to be learned by watching the debate for all of us that engage in even these everyday conversations. Yeah.
Well, and I always say too, because I mean, I like to debate online whenever I can, and I love the nut jobs. I'm sorry. I not only do I get a kick out of it, but I've said this before when people are like, oh, why do you bother? They're never going to change their mind, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I know they're not going to change their mind, but it's about the audience. There could be somebody watching who could change their mind or be reinforced in a decision they were already considering. So to me, that's the important thing. It's all about the audience and not whatever crazy, fundamentalist person you might be quote debating, because it's not usually much of a debate really, but I enjoy it anyway.
Well, I think Chris hit on a point. When it was first announced, I was like, "Oh my fucking god!"
Yeah, exactly.
Because coming out of that mindset and going through what I went through, I'm thinking it's like the Gish Gallop was my biggest thing, but. Yep. After watching the debate, and I've watched it probably 20 times, just because I love some of the one-liners he used to destroy him. But and you alluded to this as well. He in an interview he stated, if the United States produces a generation of science students who don't believe in science, that is troublesome.
Yeah. And the phrase I was reaching for was reasonable man.
Reasonable
man. Yeah.
Which is absolutely correct.
And he's a professional. I mean, he's spoken science to children, so that's a huge benefit, right?
I used to watch it. I watched this show as an adult. I used to love this show. Then again, I used to watch Blue's Clues too, so that tells you my mentality at times. My handy dandy notebook. I actually have a handy dandy notebook.
I've never actually watched Blue's Clues.
You've got a book.
Hey, yeah, you've got a book.
Yeah. That's my mentality after writing some of my blog posts. I need Blue's Clues to get my brains. Oh my god.
Oh man. Yeah, ham is something else. I love ham on rye.
Yeah, it's supposed to be ham on rye, not rye.
Now this makes me wonder: would Muslims be forced to decline to ever debate ham?
That's an interesting question, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I'm sorry, we can't be around you. You're ham.
Well, there is a Islamic instantiation of the creation, and they do kind of cooperate with the creation, whatever it is, creation research in the States, right? So it's an Abrahamic religion. They have ties. They stem from the same.
Peter Sparrow was harping on they believe that the earth is balanced on the back of a bull and earthquakes are caused when it shakes and all that, but we know...
Oh, I thought it was when you exposed your cleavage.
That was
or stood on the mountain. Being on a mountain and taking a photo of yourself topless, that causes earthquakes, right?
I think so.
Oh,
yes.
God.
Yes, indeed.
Although I think they were completely nude, not just topless.
Yeah. I imagine if they saw me driving a car, that might cause an earthquake too.
Well, do you guys remember years ago, well, not that many, I guess probably would have been around 2009, 2010 with Boobquake?
Yes, I do.
You remember that?
Yeah.
Yes, that was like a big social media sensation. I thought that was very cute, right?
Oh, it was.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The kind of thing that wouldn't happen now.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like, that guy's never seen a music video, obviously.
Yeah. But yeah, cleavage causes earthquakes. We all know that. Yeah.
Yep. I think my husband would agree. Oh, no, that's fine. I was going to say, I'm pretty sure my husband would agree with that, too. Yeah. He was, yesterday was sporting a t-shirt I got him for Christmas. It has a big yellow happy face on it, and it says, "Boobies make me smile." In fact, he was wearing it in Savannah. We were going to go inside a cathedral when he was wearing that, but unfortunately there was a wedding going on and we couldn't get in, so... See, Ashley and I were, because they asked at the door if we were a part of the wedding, and Ashley and I were going to say yes, but the boys were, well, Arna was wearing that shirt and Bobby was wearing a cognitive dissonance shirt. So we were like, it was a Catholic cathedral too. It would have been fun, but yeah, they decided that we shouldn't crash the random wedding, so bummer. I want to be, if anyone here knows why these people shouldn't be joining, be like, I do! Oh, wait, sorry, wrong couple.
Oh, God, you'd be bad.
I would. Well, the last time I was in a Catholic church was when we went to St. Anne-de-Beaupré in Quebec, and I had to play in the holy water just for hell, for kicks, you know. Unfortunately, that was before I read the article about all the nasty germs that live in holy water.
I was just going to bring that up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you do with the holy water?
I just kind of puddled in it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I tasted it, and it was disgusting. I think they put oil or something in it.
Huh.
Yeah. I was like, this tastes like shit. Ugh. Now I could have been literal.
Yeah, reading that article, literally.
Yeah. Well, I won't do that again. Maybe, I don't know, next time I don't know, I'll have to think of something else to do. Go for confession. Hey, Father! How's it going, dude? Confess? Well, let's see. Jesus never existed, and God is fake. Where would you like me to go from there?
Well, that brings to mind the Clergy Project, and you kind of wonder that, like, how many people are in it because it's their job and they have no choice, and you know, apparently that's a fairly common thing. You know, people get partway through their training and realize, hey, I don't believe anymore, but they're in, right? They're committed to,
absolutely.
They've committed a certain amount of time and money to their education, and they just go on with it, and they know bloody well what they're preaching to the flock is not, you know, cherry picking the nice parts of the Bible, hey? So,
yeah. Well, there. I don't know. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Deb.
I was just going to say, I don't you first. I'm Canadian. You have to go first.
Oh, you're being polite, are you?
I am.
Sorry.
Yes, sorry.
One of the issues brought up is that even with those that, like you're saying, is that some of your older ministers, well, Teresa McBain is a good example, and I think she's even spoken on this, is that you have, you know, people that have been in the ministry for 30, 40 years, they don't know anything else.
Yeah.
They're only, quote, life skills as far as for employment. I'm not saying these people are dumb or anything, but they were never trained in anything else.
Yeah.
That's just it, yeah.
Well, did you guys, I know you saw it, Beth. Chris, I don't know if you saw a couple of months ago, CNN did a special on atheism. Were you able to see that at all?
I did see that. Yeah.
Yeah, and you remember they had the minister who was like blacked out with his voice altered and everything. And he was still preaching sermons on Sunday, and he is like, you know, this is my livelihood. I don't know anything else, and I don't know what to do. And you know, I'm like, wow, I couldn't imagine being in that position.
That would be hard. Yeah, I have a friend actually who's a former pastor who, you know, and he, I think he and his ex-wife are on good terms, but their marriage didn't survive that, and clearly he's not doing that for a job anymore. But it was really tough on him, you know.
Oh, I bet.
Well,
I'm sure it still is. You know.
I know when I started questioning things, like Deb was saying in the beginning, basically for her it was she woke up one morning and basically that was it. Where for me it took me 10 years basically, and this was pre-internet. This was also pre-Dawkins. I'm pretty sure if I would have read Dawkins back in 88, 90-ish, I probably would have deconverted in one day as well. But being indoctrinated into that thinking, and also that, you know, my whole goal was to become a youth minister, not a pedophile one, but a youth minister.
An actual youth minister. Yes.
And one of the hardest things for me was that when I finally admitted it, it took me, I mean, just to admit it to myself, it took like 8 years. When I finally said I don't believe in God anymore, it was like I lost my best friend. That was the feeling I had, and it took me another 2 years before, I don't remember the conversation, but it might have been with my partner. She'd asked me something, and I said, "Well, I don't believe in God," and that was the first time I ever. And it was like saying that for the first time was just like, wow. So I can just imagine somebody that's been in the ministry for 20, 25, 30 years.
Yeah.
I'd be like, I couldn't imagine what it would be. I mean, I know what it was for me. It's probably 10 times worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, 10 times is probably understating the case, because, you know, people that come out as atheists in the U.S. in particular, right, often they'll lose their jobs, their homes, their families. But then you built up this entire network, you know, as a minister, entire network of trust. And I expect you could have an entire community turn around and just hate you in a split second, right?
Yeah.
So you got that.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Well, and if you remember that CNN special, there was the young fellow whose parents were fundamentalists, and they were like, oh, it's, you know, we get depressed because we're talking to our son who's a dead man. It's like, oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Like,
wow. Parents of the Year. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
What's
that was
wrong
horrible.
with that, you know? Yeah.
Well, and it's the same thing for, you know, people coming out as atheists or you know, LGBTQ. You know, I mean, I never went as far as when I came out being gay. I never actually came out to my parents. I figured after 35 years they kind of figured it out. I hope. And I still haven't actually. It just was I won't say a non-issue, but it just was something we didn't talk about. That's the joy of Lutheran Church Missouri Synod. You don't talk about the bad stuff. You ignore it and hope it goes away. And when I found out my dad got a computer, which is shock of all shocks, that, you know, my parents were in their 80s when they got the computer, and I get this friend request from my dad. Well, not thinking, I have it on my profile that, you know, I'm an atheist, and I'm like, it didn't dawn on me until 3 days later that I approved, like, my whole family by that point. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm out now. Because my whole family is still very fundy. I mean, my brother, my sister-in-law, well, technically I am too, but because of, well, my brother still works for the church, so he's actually considered a minister. And so it's my sister-in-law because she's a teacher as well. But I have like 5 ministers in my family, but everybody else, they're all churchgoers, and I was really scared at that point because I was like, well, this will be interesting because I know it's things in the past. Even though it was a spoken non-issue about being gay, it did cause issues. But here I was taking the, quote, big leap. But
yep. Well, and as we talked about, I think we've talked about this before, like I was 17 when I kind of clued in, and to me it was like, the light bulb went off. I was like, holy shit, it's all fake. It's all made up. Everybody needs to know, like, I've got the secret of life here. Everybody needs to know this. Like, I have to tell everybody. And I was very surprised when people were like, I don't want to know this. I'm like, what do you mean? It's like the answer to everything. And like, no, I don't want to know. And it took me a while to figure out that, no, people really don't want to know.
No, what? So, what were you espousing Christianity, or is that
no? That's when I became when I became an atheist, and I was like, holy shit! Like, we don't have to be tied to all this religion crap. It's all fake, And I was thinking about people who wanted to be ministers, or people who like Mennonites and Amish who do so much to get into heaven. I'm like, it's all fake. You don't have to do that anymore, kind of thing. And I was like, what do you mean you don't want to know? I don't understand. It was really confusing to me at first. But then I left for university, and it kind of became a moot point because I was too busy partying and meeting people, and I was like, oh, well. The studying came later, because that's what happens when you don't get to do anything for all that time. I was the teacher's kid, which is sort of like a preacher's kid. So when you're a teacher's kid and you go away to university, you're like, I don't have to do shit. Woohoo! Homework.
The forbidden
homework.
Fruit. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So Beth, do you have? I think we might be able to squeeze in one more question if you got it.
Okay, let me find it here. I'm trying to find a good one that might fit. I think I will go to one of our personal favorites.
Wait,
I think you're
one second, though, before you do that. Before I forget, Tech actually did come back with an answer in regards to where Amish Wolverine came from. And he said, that one is easy. Take a picture of Wolverine, take a picture of a stereotypical Amish man, superimpose the beard of the Amish over the Wolverine. Poof, Ken Ham.
I also see bats do use sonar, but they have eyesight as well. Yes, that's true.
Yeah. Yeah, and then
or not thoroughly.
And then just to thank Tech, because he told me this when I was talking about the holy water. He asked me, I wonder how many people masturbate before going to church and sticking their hands in the holy water. I'm like, thanks.
Oh!
And babies get baptized with that.
I know. Ew.
Maybe that's my excuse. I don't know.
Oh, you know what? If I was really, really, really mean, you go to a church with a baptismal font, chuck a chocolate bar in it.
Chocolate bar? Why?
Yeah, because it looks like something else that's not a chocolate bar.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's an old trick. You throw the chocolate bar in a swimming pool, but yeah. Anyway, back to your question.
This is always a favorite. I know it is between me and Dave. We get on this topic, but evolution flies directly in the face of entropy, the second law of thermodynamics.
Again, not being a scientist, what I do know is that the second law of thermodynamics applies to closed systems, and we do not live in a closed system. We are part of, obviously, a solar system and a universe, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So Yeah, it's again, I think, one of these tools that, despite repeated assertions that no, it's wrong, they just keep bringing it up again and again. Right?
Okay, kind of an offshoot question. You brought up tools. When you say that, like in regards to what you're working on, what tools do you see them using besides these old canards that just keep getting? I mean, is it more to just bringing up, reused?
Reused and kind of reappropriated in a way that sounds rhetorically more compelling. Yeah, like you know, the watchmaker argument. Well, that's you know, now it's become the, you know, whatever, cyclone and a card, whatever thing, right? Yeah. It's the same argument. I think one of the scariest ones that really, the saddest ones is that they conflate a belief in evolution with atheism. And Ken Ham, you know, I'm thinking to the Bill Nye Ken Ham debate, right? And you know, they're equivalent to some of these people, and I think that scares little children, you know, especially if they're brought up with the idea of hell and damnation, and you know, don't think because your, you know, knowledge isn't something that we value, you must have faith instead. And that's really sad, you know, because it's important that kids I think are naturally curious and love science if it's presented in a, you know, kids love to explore, right? And there's such a great opportunity to leverage that and build good citizens who are, you know, going to be contributing members to, you know, not just our societies but to the global community, and to try and scare them like that, I think is
and that Sparrow guy that came
abusive. I think it's abusive. Yeah. You know. Yeah.
And that Sparrow guy that came here to speak, he was, because a lot of people brought their children, and he was targeting those children with his talk. Like at one point, he would get them to like parrot back stuff, and his tagline to the adults in the audience was, "We must evolution-proof our children."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's scary shit right there.
Same with that guy that's in jail. What's his name? And his son is out there.
Ken Hovind.
Ken and Eric Hovind. Yeah. I mean, he's targeting kids, right?
Yeah.
That's it's scary. It's scary. You know.
It really is.
Yeah.
Well, I think what bothers me with that, going with the targeting of the kids, is that, I mean, you have people that still believe that the sun revolves around the earth.
Yeah, well, there's still flat earthers too. Not many, but
thankfully.
There's the religious flat earthers, and then there's the, quote, regular flat earthers. There's actually two different societies. One has a religious based in the Bible, and the other ones are just weird people that believe the earth is flat. But I think what scares me is, like, when the movie Noah first came out, it really bothered me. Something about it bothered me, and it was just that the people are taking the Bible so literally, and I don't know if you know who Jamie Coots was, snake handler pastor that died.
Oh, yeah, that guy.
Okay, he yeah, you know, I mean, here, like, people like him, or people that think that the sun revolves around the earth, or take the creation story as literal, I mean, it's scary. Like she was saying, and they're teaching this crap to kids.
Yep. It's,
Now I'm reminded of Jesus Count, right? Like,
yeah.
I didn't see Noah, so, but
yeah, I've avoided Noah for now. Yeah, it's crazy. That's part of the reason why I do the creation moment whenever I can, is because these people, like, in just the 7 or 8 months that I've been on their mailing list, they've come out with a YouTube channel now, and they also have creation moment is like 2 to 3 minutes long, but now they have a creation minute on the YouTube channel that is a minute. I haven't looked at those yet, but you know, it's all slick and looks authoritative. And the sad part is this Ian Taylor guy is actually in Canada now. He came from England, but we have him here. I forget where, but yeah.
Make sure you keep this one, please.
No.
We don't want him. We got Ham and Hoven to deal with. And
actually, I was really hoping that we could pawn off Psi 10 on you.
Oh God, no.
He just lives in Toronto, though. Actually, I was...
Can't we pawn him off on the North Pole or something?
Send him to
Canada. Yeah, there we go. He can go live in Alaska.
There's another one, too.
Well, no, because I want to go visit Alaska. Wait until after I go there.
Well, you could take a rifle. You know, just saying. There's wildlife, and you need to be aware, and you should be. Bear spray is obviously the more humane, thing. But you should be safe while you're in Alaska, and that means carrying around bear spray. Yeah, in case you meet Sarah Palin or a moose.
I'm not even going to touch that with a 10-foot pole.
No, and I should have said that. That was, I guess I'm also reminded of Spirit. Do you guys know who Spirit Science is? Have you ever seen that on YouTube? Yeah, I think he's Canadian too. And he's, wow. If you've ever seen, like, the unbelievable tying together of strands of entire manure pulled right straight from, thinking of that, the phrase to, talk about the mind's ass, right? And, he pulls these things out of his mind's ass because, he's got the mind's eye or whatever, right? And he's Canadian too. We could, he's hilarious. Like, Deepak Chopra, Christianity, space Jews, and like apparently Jewish people. Something to do, I'm sure that comes from either Scientology or Mormonism or whatever, blah, 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 we get your planet, and, just like, it's unbelievable.
Oh, yeah.
It's hilarious. It's hilarious. So,
it is. It absolutely is.
Stuff, eh? Yeah.
I don't think we need Psi 10 here, though. Although... Tech doesn't seem to like that idea for some reason. I don't know why. He's flailing around and saying, "Fuck you, no." I don't know, Tech. I think Psi 10 would really like the weather in Maryland. I just have this feeling. If I ever run into him in Toronto, I'll tell him that. There you go. Well, ladies, looks like we need to wrap things up. See, I told you it would go fast.
It did go fast. That was a lot of fun.
It did. So,
thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, you're very welcome, and thank you for joining us. And we'll get Beth to plug her stuff, and then we'll find out where we can find you. So, Beth, plug your shit.
Plug my shit?
Yep.
Hold on.
Not literally.
Easiest way, do 9998 on Twitter. That connects to both Facebook and my blog, which is Havoc and Chaos, which is on Blogger. I pretty much just rant and rave about religious shit that drives me absolutely fuck crazy.
Yep. That she definitely does. Pretty much any target will do. All right. And Chris, where can we find you? Well, I know where we can find you.
I'll be in Kitchener for the non-profit thing, but I'm on Facebook. I'm easy to find there. I'm not really on. I have a Twitter account, but I really never use it, so that's one way to get hold of me. And
no problem.
President at athealliance.org is an email address you can get hold of me through. And again,
excellent.
I have an email address with the American Humanist Association as well, so I'm pretty easy to find. Shellska's a weird name, so. Yeah.
And the podcast, you do podcasts too.
Legion of Reason, yep.
Legion of Reason, awesome.
Yeah, we're on Facebook as well as we have a website too. So yeah.
Great. So as I've been saying, like every week for a while now, if you can get your ass to Kitchener in August on the 22nd, get your ass to Kitchener on August 22nd, and you can hear Chris speak and meet all kinds of other cool people too. So, because I, of course, be there because I live here, and I wouldn't miss it at all. And I will be there for the dinner as well. So, yay, can hang out and stuff.
I'm looking forward to meeting you. Yeah. And
awesome.
Lawrence Krauss is a headliner at this conference.
That's right, so Lawrence Krauss. Yeah.
Always
and
awesome to hear.
I'm also really looking forward to meeting Faisal Al-Muhtar, who we saw via Skype last year. And
he's a good friend of mine. He's lovely. You'll love him.
He's so funny. I have him on Facebook, and he's such a scream. He is, and I'm really looking forward to meeting Ensaf Haider too. That lady is a hell of an inspiration, that's for sure. And all kinds of other cool people, and some of whom will be appearing here as next week. Armin Navabi, who's also speaking at the non-con, will be our guest here on Beyond the Trailer Park. So look forward to that. What?
I forgot to order his book.
Girl!
I was gonna have his book read by then.
Hurry up!
Yeah.
you got
a
week.
On Kindle?
Huh?
Let's hope so.
Is it available on Kindle?
Yeah, it's on Kindle, but it'll have to be Friday.
Well, we'll figure something out, girl. But yeah, Armin is the founder of Atheist Republic, so we'll be looking forward to talking to him next week. And of course, there's always my other show, My Secular Savior. Now that Kai and I are both finished our world travels, we should be getting together to do a new episode real soon. And, of course, there's Holy Crap, the Vlogcast, which happens Sunday mornings at 12:05 a.m. Eastern Time, that is, for those of you out in the other end of the world. And I think that's everything for now. Yeah. I know.
Can I do one quick plug?
Yes,
please. There is, I need to check the dates really quickly here, but there is the non-conference, or sorry, not the non-conference, the Alberta Secular Conference coming up, and let me just double.
Please. Oh no, she just clicked herself out.
Hopefully
we'll give her a minute. Yep, there she is. Somebody clicked the wrong button, didn't she?
I did. Let's try that.
That's okay.
Oh, okay, my computer's not cooperating. It's in Red Deer, Alberta.
Red Deer, all right.
Which is halfway between Edmonton and Calgary, so I think it'll be a good crowd. I like to call Red Deer Redneck, Alberta, because that's kind of, the culture there.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm curious if there's going to be any protests or anything like that, but I'm afraid my computer is not cooperating, so I can't find the exact dates. It's in October, I want to say around the 22nd, and check it out, the Alberta Secular Conference. Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you for the plug.
No problem.
Well, we can add all that to show notes. So.
Absolutely. Cool. Well, again, thank you so much for joining us. We had a great time, and totally looking forward to seeing you in August. Yay! And with that,
me too.
With that, I will close us out as always with our humanist creed, and let's see how fast my computer will load it this time.
I know the truth and power of reason and of rational thinking, and I will use them to my advantage. I know the truth and power of educating myself and of expanding my intellectual boundaries, and I will educate myself. I know the truth and power of vanquishing ignorance, and I will do so whenever the opportunity presents itself. I know the truth and power of morality without supervision, and of true and accurate righteousness, I know the truth and power of obliterating tyranny, be it intellectual, emotional, or philosophical, and will work toward that goal whenever and however possible. I know the truth and power of human ingenuity. I know the truth and power of human compassion, and I will be mindful of the welfare of others. I know the truth and power of equality and fairness for all living things. I know the truth and power of the importance of our families, our friends, and our fellow men and women. I know the truth and power of human stewardship of our lands, our waters, and our skies, and I will try to act to preserve our environment. I know the truth and power of the sciences of mathematics, physics, and of chemistry, and of the important role of these disciplines in understanding the workings of this cosmos. I know the truth and power of the rejection of all notions or beliefs that reside in the supernatural or the superstitious, and of those notions or beliefs that we are not supposed to be able to explain. And I know that these rejections are necessary for humankind's survival. I am a human being with a free mind, liberated from irrational influence and from unreasonable dogma.